Welcome to Mukesh Manoharan Studio. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the bell icon before we proceed. Imagine, for just a moment, the heavy, quiet silence of the pre-dawn hours. It's that time of day when the rest of the world is deeply asleep, long before the sun has even begun to trace a faint line of light across the horizon. Suddenly, the harsh, unforgiving blare of an alarm clock absolutely shatters that stillness. This wasn't a one-off occurrence. This was the exact daily reality for 38-year-old Ramesh. Every single morning began in the exact same frantic, breathless rhythm. His family would be resting peacefully, completely unaware of the quiet war he was waging in the next room, while Ramesh dragged himself out of a warm bed. His body was already aching, weighed down by an exhaustion that a mere 5 hours of fragmented sleep could never, ever cure. You see, Ramesh was a man driven by a relentless, invisible engine of duty. He truly believed that to be a good father, to be a solid husband, he had clearly and simply had to sacrifice himself entirely to the endless grind of his work. Today, in this cinematic explainer, we're going to embark on an emotional journey to uncover the hidden costs of that very sacrifice. We're going to explore exactly what happens when life is moving just a little too fast, accelerating toward a dangerous cliff that we simply cannot see until we're already falling.
Ramesh lived in a modern world, where a man's worth so often feels measured entirely by the size of the income he can carry home at the end of the month. He held on to this deep, unwavering belief that working endlessly, without pause, was his ultimate and most noble duty to his wife and his 2 young children. As he bent down to tie his shoes each morning, feeling that familiar ache in his lower back, he quietly told himself that the exhaustion was simply the price of love. Every late night spent hunched over a glowing blue-lit computer screen, every family vacation casually skipped for a deadline, every absent moment at the dinner table, he rationalized it all. To him, it was all just a necessary deposit into the bank of his family's future. But here's the haunting question, the one we really need to ask ourselves right now. In this singular, obsessive pursuit of financial security, what was he unknowingly trading away? The truth is, he was giving up a treasure infinitely more valuable than any currency. He was trading his vitality, his very presence, and his long-term health, moment by precious moment, for a paycheck. And you have to wonder, are you doing the exact same thing?
He found himself caught in a deeply dangerous, almost invisible trap. He was desperately trying to fulfill these incredibly noble intentions, but he was doing it through highly destructive, punishing actions. The physical toll of this relentless pursuit was slowly, meticulously being carved into his daily routine. Breakfast? That became a completely forgotten luxury, quickly replaced by the bitter, acidic rush of black coffee poured into an empty, churning stomach. Lunch wasn't much better. It was whatever greasy, salt-heavy fast food he could shove down with one hand while furiously answering emails with the other. Day in and day out, he operated on a severe, punishing deficit, trying to run his complex, fragile human engine on a restless 5 hours of sleep. And in those rare, quiet moments of the evening, when his wife would look at him, really look at him, she would notice the deep, dark purple circles beneath his eyes, so could see the invisible, crushing weight resting on his shoulders. She would gently, lovingly plead with him to just slow down, to take a breath, to take care of himself. But her worried pleas were always, without fail, met with the exact same dismissive, rehearsed reassurance.
"I'll rest later," he would say softly, flashing a tired, unconvincing smile. "Right now my family needs me." It is a truly tragic irony, isn't it? This deeply ingrained belief that systematically destroying oneself is somehow the highest possible form of protection. He was looking so far ahead, staring so intensely at a distant horizon of financial stability, that he completely lost sight of the ground slowly crumbling beneath his own 2 feet. As we continue to unpack this explainer and dive deeper into Ramesh's story, if you're finding this narrative resonating with your own life, please take a quick, gentle moment to like this video, share it with someone who might be working a little too hard, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let's see where this relentless mindset eventually led him.
Time, as it always relentlessly does, marched steadily on. The months seamlessly dissolved into years, and the sheer physical toll began creeping into his body entirely unnoticed, like a slow-moving shadow. By the 6th month of this brutal routine, the weight gain officially began. A sluggish, uncomfortable heaviness that made something as simple as climbing the stairs at home feel like a monumental, breathless task. By the time the 1st year rolled around, a deep, pervasive fatigue had settled into his bones. We're talking about a kind of profound tiredness that absolutely no amount of weekend sleep could ever wash away. And then, by the 2nd year, the headaches started. They weren't just mild inconveniences. They were persistent, throbbing pulses at his temples. They were literal warning sirens echoing through his overtaxed nervous system. Yet Ramesh, completely blinded by his ironclad sense of duty, dangerously mistook these screaming bodily alarms for mere everyday stress. He just swallowed another painkiller, washed it down with another cup of dark coffee, and pushed even harder, entirely unaware that his fragile body was rapidly approaching its absolute breaking point.
And then, seemingly out of nowhere, came the morning that changed absolutely everything. It started like any other Tuesday. Ramesh stood alone before the brightly lit bathroom mirror, mechanically knotting his silk tie, just as he had done 1,000 times before. But something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. The reflection in the cold glass suddenly seemed to shift and warp. Out of nowhere, a massive, overwhelming wave of dizziness crashed over him, instantly washing away all sense of balance and gravity. The bright bathroom lights smeared into a blinding blur, and he reached his hand out, desperately trying to find an anchor in a violently spinning world. His fingers slipped against the smooth porcelain. And then, there was only the heavy, shocking, sickening thud of his own body collapsing dead weight on the cold, hard tiles of the floor. In an instant, his entire world went pitch black.
The next few moments were nothing but a disorienting blur of chaotic, terrifying rushing. He vaguely remembered the muffled, frantic cries of his wife echoing down the hallway, the distant, piercing wailing of an ambulance cutting through the morning air, and the sterile, humming fluorescent lights of the hospital emergency room passing rapidly overhead. When Ramesh finally managed to flutter his heavy eyes open, he found himself tethered to a web of beeping monitors, his heart pounding an erratic, terrified rhythm against his ribs. A doctor, looking incredibly stern and wearing a crisp white coat, stood at the very foot of his bed. His expression was completely grave. The doctor's words seemed to chill the very air in the room. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. Your blood sugar is significantly elevated. If you continue this exact lifestyle, you could face a massive heart attack or a fatal stroke. Those cold, clinical words completely and utterly shattered Ramesh's lifelong illusion of invincibility. He was not, in fact, unbreakable.
Slowly, wincing through the dull pain in his head, Ramesh turned his gaze toward the door. Standing just inside the doorway were his wife and 2 young children. Their faces were ashen, completely pale, and etched with a kind of raw, paralyzing fear he had never seen before. And in that quiet, heavy, sterile hospital room, a profoundly emotional realization washed entirely over him, hitting him harder than the collapse itself. He had systematically sacrificed his own body to build an impenetrable fortress of financial security for his family, but in doing so, he had completely forgotten to pour the foundation. Without his health, he couldn't protect them at all. Without his health, all the money in the world was entirely useless. He realized with a crushing weight on his chest that he couldn't shield his loved ones from the world if he wasn't even alive to be in it with them. Before we move forward into the next chapter of this incredible explainer, if you're finding immense value in this deeply personal journey, this is just a gentle reminder to organically hit that like button, share this vital message with your friends, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the powerful stories we have coming your way. Let's look at what Ramesh did next.
That terrifying, eye-opening day in the emergency room became the absolute, undeniable turning point of his entire existence. When Ramesh finally returned home, walking a little slower, a little more carefully, he didn't frantically search for desperate overnight shortcuts. He didn't chase after miraculous fad diets or impossible fitness transformations. He fundamentally understood that a lifetime of severe neglect could only be healed through immense patience and quiet, unwavering discipline. His incredible journey of recovery began with a single, highly powerful number, 30. He made a vow to himself to wake up exactly 30 minutes earlier every single day. Just 30 minutes. Instead of immediately rushing to flip open his laptop and drown in emails, he sat on the edge of his bed, laced up a simple pair of running shoes, and stepped out into the cool, silent dawn for a morning walk. The steady, rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath his feet became his brand new daily meditation. It was a sacred, unbreakable promise to himself that step by step, he was going to take his life back.
His remarkable recovery was essentially forged in the fires of small, highly consistent daily decisions. He set down and implemented 3 absolute, non-negotiable rules to deeply respect the physical vessel that carried him through this world. First, all those sugary, highly caffeinated energy drinks and sodas that once artificially fueled his frantic days were literally poured straight down the kitchen drain. They were permanently replaced by the simple, life-giving purity of water. Second, those greasy, crumpled fast food bags in his car were permanently swapped out for nourishing, colorful homemade lunches lovingly packed the night before.
And finally, which was perhaps the absolute most difficult challenge of all for a man used to the grind, he drew a hard, permanent line in the sand regarding his rest. The glowing screens, the phones, the laptops, they were all forcefully powered down at a specific time, and he strictly enforced a 7-hour sleep rule, finally allowing his deeply weary body to begin the slow, miraculous work of cellular healing. Before long, this profound physical transformation began to beautifully spill over from those quiet dawn mornings into the absolute rest of his life. If you looked at his past, weekends used to be a rather bleak, depressing affair. They largely consisted of Ramesh completely collapsed on the living room couch in sheer exhaustion, staring blankly, almost zombie-like, at a television screen while the vibrant colors of life just happened around him without him. But now? Oh, the weekends became a genuine sanctuary of joy. These present weekends were brightly filled with the beautiful sound of authentic laughter echoing across the green grass of the local park. You could actually find Ramesh out there, running, breathless and smiling from ear to ear, playing cricket, and kicking a football with his absolutely overjoyed children. He wasn't just passively existing on the sidelines of their lives anymore. He was actively, vibrantly, and physically participating in the beautiful rhythm of their childhood. Yet, to be completely honest with you, we must acknowledge that this path was definitely not paved with ease or perfection. The first few weeks of this drastic new lifestyle were genuinely grueling. His body, having been so deeply accustomed to the high-octane fuel of sugar and the adrenaline of constant stress, actively fought against him. They were intense, almost maddening cravings for unhealthy, fried food that tightly gripped him in those vulnerable late-afternoon slumps. They were incredibly cold, dark, rainy mornings when the heavy, warm blanket of sleep felt like an irresistible siren's call, and the temptation to just stay in bed, to completely give up on this whole health journey, was nearly overwhelming. We are uncovering some truly hard, universal truths in this explainer today. So if you want to keep exploring these powerful deep dives with me, please don't forget to take a second right now to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share this video. Your support truly helps us keep telling these stories. Now, let's see how Ramesh pushed through the darkness.
Every single time that dangerous whisper of surrender quietly entered his mind, Ramesh would forcefully close his eyes and remember the pale, frightened faces of his family standing in the doorway of that sterile hospital room. That specific, haunting memory became his absolute, unbreakable armor. And through sheer, quiet perseverance, a truly triumphant medical turnaround revealed itself just 3 short months later. The frightening numbers that once deeply threatened his very existence had dramatically retreated. His overall weight had steadily and healthily decreased, noticeably lifting the agonizing burden off of his aching joints. His once dangerously high, erratic blood pressure had beautifully smoothed out into a calm, steady rhythm, and his previously skyrocketing blood sugar was now perfectly, beautifully controlled. But honestly, looking way beyond all the clinical metrics on the doctor's clipboard, his day-to-day energy levels had miraculously rebounded to incredible heights he hadn't actually felt since he was in his 20s.
However, the true ultimate measure of this entire transformation wasn't actually found on a sterile doctor's chart, nor was it displayed on the digital numbers of a bathroom scale. The real emotional climax of his entire journey arrived very quietly, unexpectedly, on a warm, golden Tuesday evening. As Ramesh sat comfortably at the family dinner table, genuinely laughing out loud at a silly story from his son, his young daughter suddenly stopped eating. She put her fork down, looked across the table at him with those wide, highly observant eyes that only children seem to have, and said incredibly softly, "Dad, you're smiling more now." Across the wooden table, his wife met his gaze, and her eyes were absolutely shining with a deep, profound relief. She finally truly saw the healthy, vibrant, energetic man she had always wanted right beside her. That single, simple sentence from his young daughter was the absolute ultimate reward for every single tired step he had taken in the pre-dawn darkness and every single craving he had bravely conquered.
In that incredibly tender, golden moment at the dinner table, Ramesh fundamentally and forever redefined his entire understanding of what it actually means to be a strong provider. He deeply realized that true success is absolutely not merely a high number flickering on a digital bank statement, nor is it the meaningless accumulation of impressive corporate titles earned through endless, soul-crushing hours away from home. True success, real, tangible wealth, is having the physical strength, the sharp mental clarity, and the boundless, joyous vitality to actively, physically enjoy life with the people you love the most. It is the precious ability to be truly entirely present in the room, rather than just being a fleeting, exhausted shadow passing quietly through the background of their lives.
Today, Ramesh continues to actively weave this profound wisdom into the very fabric of his everyday, normal life. Don't get me wrong, he still works incredibly hard. He is still fundamentally a man of deep responsibility and high ambition, but he now operates his life with a fierce, protective set of non-negotiable boundaries. He calls these his daily anchors. No matter what corporate crisis arises, he will never again compromise his quiet morning walks. He rigorously, almost religiously honors the absolute importance of eating balanced, nutritious meals, maintaining adequate daily hydration, and getting regular cardiovascular exercise. And interestingly, he now approaches his annual medical health checkups not with a sense of anxiety or dread, but with a deep sense of gratitude, viewing them simply as a vital, necessary maintenance check on the absolute most precious, irreplaceable machine he will ever own in his lifetime, his own body. As we near the very end of this cinematic explainer, if Ramesh's incredible turnaround has moved or inspired you today, please remember to hit subscribe, drop a thoughtful like on the video, and share this vital message with your own loved ones.
Ramesh's ultimate echoing message to the rest of the world, beautifully born directly from the dark ashes of his own near tragedy, is a passionate plea for a global awakening. Your family doesn't just need your income, he often says to his colleagues. They need you. They need you healthy, they need you happy, and they need you fully 100% present. Please, do not wait for the terrifying, cold reality of a hospital bed to forcibly remind you that your health is actually life's absolute greatest wealth. It is such a profound, heavy truth that we so easily, so casually forget in the blur of our modern rush. Think about it. Money can always be lost and eventually earned again. Career timelines can sometimes be renegotiated, but your lost health is incredibly fragile. Once it is truly shattered, it is painfully, sometimes impossibly difficult to piece back together.
And so, as we gracefully bring this explainer to a close, the question now turns very quietly, very personally to you, as you sit there watching your own horizon. You currently possess the incredible power to completely rewrite your own story long before the storm actually hits. Ask yourself right now, what is one small, seemingly insignificant healthy habit that you will courageously commit to starting today? Because remember, the truly strongest person in the room is not the one who works the longest, most grueling hours in the dark, but the one who stays vibrant and healthy enough to actually enjoy the beautiful life they are working so incredibly hard to build. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us and joining us for this explainer here at Mukesh Manoharan Studio. I hope this story stays with you, and we'll see you next time.